even after the divorce, you're still our son's father. I'll take all the inheritance I can get. Isn't the insurance money and property division enough?" In the chilling silence at the funeral of the suddenly deceased husband, ex-wife Linda and her son Aaron started to claim the inheritance. Why seek an inheritance now, when they never visited him in his time of need? How absurd. My name is Naomi, a 36-year-old average office worker. My husband, Dan, was a 51-year-old employee and has a history of divorce. His parents have already passed away. He has a 24-year-old son, Aaron, from his previous marriage, a fact I accepted when marrying him. My husband is a very serious and compassionate person, highly trusted by those around him. As for children, we left it in God's hands, not engaging in any special fertility treatments. We both work hard and cherish our time together in the evenings, enjoying our happy daily life. However, there was one concern. Aaron often claimed that his inability to hold a job was my husband's fault and frequently came asking for money. Giving him money might be enabling his job instability and overdependence on his father. I chose not to interfere. My husband, busy with work, felt guilty about not spending enough time with his son. But isn't this a common scenario for many fathers? My own father often came home late or had to change plans due to work. As a working couple, we're financially comfortable. I thought it was fine for my husband to give his son money from his earnings, respecting his wishes, and thus chose not to interfere in this matter. Then one day, my husband was severely injured in an accident at work. He was hit by a reckless driver while walking at a green light, leaving him unconscious. I left work early and rushed to the hospital. After the surgery, I received a detailed explanation from the doctor. They did everything they could, but my husband's condition remained unstable, and there was a high chance he wouldn't last long. Bring anyone you might want to see, and do it soon, they suggested, confronting me with a shocking reality. I was stunned, unable to do anything but stand there. But I had to do something for my husband. I first called my parents. My parents came to the hospital right away and comforted me. Next, I contacted friends of my husband, some of whom I also knew. News of his condition spread among friends and acquaintances, both personal and professional. I took a break from work and spent my days in his hospital room. According to the hospital's recent rules, even family members aren't allowed to stay overnight. Filled with anxiety, I sometimes slept in my car in the parking lot. Day and night, visitors came to see my husband. His wonderful personality was evident in the continuous stream of people who came to encourage and support him and me. Among his friends was someone close to both of us professionally and personally. This friend, familiar to me, visited daily, concerned about my health and cheering up my husband. He had known my husband for a long time and was aware of the situation with his ex-wife, Linda. Though divorced, it wasn't as if there was no connection at all. However, I didn't have Linda's phone number. When I asked his friend, he knew it and gave it to me. When I called her, Linda said, "I don't care about my ex-husband anymore," sounding irritated. Still, I asked if at least her son could come to visit. She said, "I'll ask, but I don't think he'll come," and quickly hung up. I understood there were unresolved issues between my husband and his son. Even with my husband's life in danger, these issues took precedence. Accepting this complexity, I decided not to push for their visit. My husband's condition did not improve, and there were no signs of regaining consciousness. The doctor warned of an uncertain situation, hoping Aaron might change his mind and come. I waited, but he never showed up. In the end, my husband passed away with me by his side, moving on to the next world. I had no time to immerse myself in grief for my husband's death. Even as he received angel care, I had to proceed with funeral arrangements. With help from my parents and my husband's friends, the preparation steadily progressed. Colleagues, bosses, and juniors from work also offered their help, and the wake proceeded as planned. The funeral the next day was solemnly conducted with the help of employees who could arrange to be there. More people attended the funeral and offered me kind words and encouragement. The funeral reminded me of my husband's wonderful character and kindness. Being kind to someone can change their heart too. Even in this sad event, there were moments that warmed my heart. I thanked my husband's close friends and work colleagues for their help and expressed my gratitude to everyone who assisted. That's when I was informed someone wanted to see me. They were a man and a woman, dressed inappropriately for a funeral. I recognized the man's face. It must be my husband's son. And the woman next to him was probably his ex-wife. They appeared in casual attire, far from formal, waiting in an area where people were coming and going after the service had ended. Funeral home staff were preparing to move to the crematorium. They seemed to be still there. They didn't seem to have come to attend the funeral. If they really wanted to participate, wouldn't they have offered prayers or incense? Or said something? I felt irritation and tension emanating from them. Who might you be? What do you mean, who? Weren't you the one who contacted me? No, you must be Linda. Yes, that's right. I asked you to visit him in the hospital, but I don't recall inviting you to the funeral. Attend the funeral? We never intended to. Our attire should make that obvious. The ex-wife sneered. I thought we should talk before any procedures start. My son has a right to the inheritance. I can't let you monopolize it. Inheritance? It hasn't even been an hour since the funeral ended. There are other things to do. I struggled to contain my anger, and though I wanted to retort, I couldn't find the words. Son, laughing, I know the medical bills are covered by workers' compensation. Plus, you've got a hefty settlement from the accident culprit. You haven't spent a dime, right? And you must have received a good amount in condolence money from the funeral. That's great, isn't it? It became clear they had checked on the inheritance ever since my husband's condition became critical. Linda must have investigated his income and circumstances, expecting an inheritance. These people, once part of a family, now displayed such cold attitudes, which pained me. I intend to get my fair share, so keep that in mind, Auntie. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my anger, but it was challenging. Aaron has always been interested only in money. He seemed to think only of extracting as much money as possible from any source. It was clear he never considered how my husband felt about being constantly asked for money. I've had enough. I raised my voice unintentionally. The funeral staff, busy with cleanup, sensed the unusual atmosphere and quickly went to call John. What's going on, Naomi? John hurried over, and upon seeing Linda and Aaron, he said in a stern voice, Can't you two understand the situation? Oh, if it isn't my ex-husband's partner. Still close with him, I see. What, was it a brotherly bond between men? Makes me sick. Linda began to fight back angrily. I couldn't contain my anger as she attacked my husband's social circle. The fact that my husband couldn't defend himself fueled my anger. How dare they slander him like a villain? Say whatever you like about me. Do you have anything else to say? If not, please leave. He remained firm in his stance. You don't need to engage with people like them. Let's ignore them, Naomi." They were urged to leave but ignored it, raising their voices. "Declare right here that you'll divide the inheritance properly with Aaron." They held smartphones in their hands, running recording apps, trying to capture my words. The friend was about to leave but stopped and turned around. "Oh, about the inheritance. Your son has a right to it, you say? Can you prove that he is indeed the deceased child?" "What? Why would I need to prove something like that? It seems you don't understand. Let me ask more clearly. Is the person here claiming to be your son really born to my friend and you?" I was confused. His words seemed to imply there was no blood relation. My husband had never mentioned having a stepchild. Thoughts of adoption or foster care crossed my mind. While I pondered, Linda's demeanor became odd. She became defensive against John's accusation, insisting he was her and my husband's child. "If that's what you say, I have something to tell you. I know the truth from my friend. There's no blood relation between your son and my friend, right? Was there a relation to the ex-wife, but not to my deceased husband?" I couldn't grasp the situation, and the son seemed equally confused. The energy from before was gone, and he stood there with his mouth half open. However, Linda seemed to know something, her face turning pale with cold sweat on her forehead. Aaron, noticing his mother's demeanor and sensing a hidden secret, asked, "What does that mean?" But Linda remained silent. Aaron shook his mother's shoulder, demanding forcefully, "Why aren't you saying anything? Say something." John stayed silent, suggesting he could explain if necessary. Initially, Linda resisted, telling him not to say anything unnecessary. But succumbing to the pressure that her son should know, she was silenced. "Indeed, it's not my place to speak of things unknown to Linda. But for the deceased's honor, I will share. My friend had doubts during Linda's pregnancy. Hence, my husband used a detective agency to investigate during her pregnancy. It was discovered that, despite being married, Linda was involved with another man. The blood type of the born child didn't match what would be expected from Linda and Dan. Causing him great shock, John spoke the truth calmly, and as he spoke, Linda started to tremble. Her shaking was not out of anger but fear, as the truth was publicly revealed and her secret exposed. Aaron was speechless. Believing in their blood relation, he acted as he pleased. The realization of no connection must have stirred complex emotions. Dan and his friend likely wished to keep this fact to themselves. We were a couple that shared everything, but Dan never mentioned this. That was surprising to me. Therefore, if you claim inheritance, we'd like a DNA test. It's the surest way. Indeed, that would be the most definite method. I had no objections, especially if Linda still insisted on her son's inheritance rights. But Linda exploded in anger. "What does blood relation matter? He's listed as my ex-husband's child in the family register, so he obviously has rights. This situation needed proper handling to avoid further disturbance." As I worried about involving other mourners, unexpectedly, Aaron angrily confronted his mother. "You've been silent about this all along?" "Well, not silent, but I want to know if what this man says is true. Tell me honestly." Cornered, Linda tried to evade the truth, but her son's anger only grew. "What the hell? Why didn't you tell me? I always thought he was my real father." His anger and words hinted at deep emotions tied to blood relations. Perhaps his financial dependence was a way to affirm his father's love and presence. "I won't take the inheritance. Even if I have legal rights, I'll relinquish them all." Linda clung to her son in surprise and confusion. but he looked at her with pity and silently left the scene, unable to bear this betrayal. Linda collapsed weakly. Aaron said that, but it's not legally binding, right? You're not recording this, are you? Her desire for a share of the inheritance was evident, though unspoken. However, upon hearing the commotion, John escorted her out of the venue. John apologized for not revealing Linda and Dan's relationship. These events were a series of surprises to me, but I admired the loyalty of the Johns and felt his love for me anew. After that, Linda and her son never appeared before me again. When my husband's memorial service ended and life began to return to normal, I heard the latest news about them from John. Aaron turned out to be a child born from Melinda's affair with another man, a fact she confessed herself. Knowing the truth, he condemned his mother and decided to cut ties. He might be a good person at heart, perhaps more sensible than Linda. Linda seemed to have genuinely loved her son. Hence, his disownment was a massive shock for her, leading to both mental and physical exhaustion. However, she was later forced to move out after rumors of her being a swindler spread in the neighborhood. Even John couldn't trace her whereabouts afterward. They offered to investigate if I wanted to know, but I felt no need. If there's no chance of meeting her again, that was enough for me. She lived for her son. Now that he's gone, it'll be hard for her to return to her previous life. I don't think she'll appear before you again, Naomi. I finally felt a return to a peaceful life. I decided to see a doctor about the health issues that had been troubling me. I had thought the ailments since my husband's accident were due to stress and the responsibility of being the chief mourner. I expected a diagnosis of overwork, but the diagnosis was unexpected. The discomfort was due to a new life growing inside me. A child from my late husband. The baby was a boy. The doctor advised me to take it easy during this crucial time. Reflecting on his words, I resolved to take better care of my health. With these thoughts, I visited my husband's grave. There, unfamiliar flowers and his favorite food were offered. It wasn't his monthly Memorial Day, so who could it be? Initially puzzled, I realized only a few close people knew his favorite food. Then, I had an intuition that it might be Aaron. At my husband's grave, I spoke to him. "Hey, looks like you finally made up." "I'm really glad." I also shared another piece of joyous news that I was pregnant with our child. I asked my husband to watch over both the ex-wife's son and our unborn son from heaven.